I was a part of the Gifted and Talented program in the 90s, and I just found my binder. The things I found. For starters, they had us doing worksheets in Morse code. Here's one of them. So they gave us at the top what the Morse code is, and then we had to fill out the rest of the worksheets to like make codes and messages and stuff in Morse code. A lot of our worksheets were about different codes. This one is literally called Codes to Crack. So you can see there, they gave us like 8 letters, and each of the columns is a different code. So for this one, there was 8 letters. They gave us the corresponding letters, and then we had to figure out the rest of the alphabet and fill in the rest of the column. But there's so much more. Like the stuff I found in there, I'm like, what were you training us for? Like, why was I 10 years old speaking Russian? It's cool, but I don't actually remember anything except that's my name. So I do remember that. I'll share more as I go through the whole thing, but it's like there's like hundreds of worksheets in there, so like it's gonna take me a minute. I'm back with more worksheets from the GATE program. I think this is like part 4. Everybody keeps mentioning whales, and I went through my whole binder this time, and they were obsessed with whales. Okay, so here's a whale comparison chart. Be a whale expert, and we had to answer all these different questions about it. We had to learn about products from whales, so piano keys, a scrimshaw, perfume, pet food. Somebody else had mentioned measurements, and I couldn't remember what they were talking about, but look at what I found. We had to measure ourselves, or like translate our measurements into ancient measurements. And then here's another one of those whodunit. So they give you like who's related or whatever, and then you have to figure out how they're all related. Here's one of the pictures. They they cut them apart, and then we had to put them back together. Don't ask me what that is. I don't know. We learned how to tie different knots. So an overhand knot, clove hitch. And then here is more about the invention stuff. People wanted to see more of this. So they gave us a list of things to invent, and then we had to come up with what that would actually look like. And then here is another like decoding worksheet. So they had us mark true or false. These are all statements about Marie Curie. And then we had to say true or false. And then it translated to a letter. And then we had to, apparently I didn't do it, but and then we were supposed to translate the letters into numbers to decode the message. So then we did words of the week. So we've got this one. I'll give you a second to screenshot before I show the next one. So a lot of them had to do a sound. Transmitter, pitch. One thing I wanted to ask is somebody had mentioned that they remembered being made to lay down on the ground flat on our backs, and there was sounds playing and we were told to like float. I remember that. I would, if anyone else also remembers, if you could put details in the comments, maybe to jog my memory more, that would be super helpful.
If you're an 80s, 90s, early 2000s baby and you were in the GATE program, that's Gifted and Talented Education program, I need to hear about your experience because I went down the rabbit hole last night after I did a story on liminal spaces and back rooms, and a bunch of people were commenting like, I wonder if this is related to the GATE program, which some people think was a government program ran by the CIA to find children with telepathic or psychic abilities. So naturally, I searched my email and I have 3 stories about the GATE program. But the thing is, I was in the GATE program and I didn't even remember being in the GATE program until I read these comments. A lot of the people in the comments of the criteria were strange. Like a lot of the children had hazel eyes. I have hazel eyes. I know they look dark in this lighting, but legally on my driver's license, it says I have hazel eyes. Another thing was that a lot of the kids in this program had near-death drowning experiences. I've had 2 of those, both before the age of 8. The third thing is that after this experience, a lot of these kids that were in this program have never broken a bone. Guess who else hasn't? And a lot of these kids have no memory of being in this program. I also didn't until I was reading these comments, and I was like, wait, that sounds familiar. So I called my mom today. I was like, hey, do you remember the GATE program? I was in it, right? Or am I just making that up in my head? She's like, oh yeah, you were in that. I was like, what was it? She's like, I don't remember. I just remember somebody calling the house and saying that you had really good test scores and they were asking about your interests, and so I signed you up. I was like, okay, where'd you take me? She's like, I don't know. I just remember dropping you off. And the thing is, all I remember about this program is that it wasn't at my school. It was somewhere else. I remember one other girl that I knew that was in the class, and she was from the Philippines and she had just moved to the US with her family. She was so smart, but she spoke very broken English. I remember learning rudimentary Morse code. A lot of people have said that they remember learning Russian. I don't remember that at all. And I remember doing sound experiments where they would put headphones on and they would play certain tones. When I asked my mom about it, she says that she also remembers us doing a lot of water exercises, but I have no recollection of that. And that's the other crazy thing about this is so many people that were in this program actually have no memory of it until it's brought up by somebody else. And this actually doesn't make any sense to me because I remember a lot of my childhood. I had a really good childhood. I remember being in Girl Scouts. I remember being on the swim team every summer. I remember playing with my neighbor. I remember my teachers and my classmates' names from kindergarten onward. I remember my science fair experiments. I remember sleepovers at the YMCA. Why don't I remember being in this program? That said, I'm going to share an email submission I got about the GATE program that came back in February. This person wants to be anonymous, but she is a woman. She said in 2014 she was about to turn 9. She had just moved to the U.S. and she was invited to join the GATE program. She remembers being in a room with a computer and a long table, and there was a man in the room with her that seemed to study her. She put on a pair of headphones. Doesn't have any recollection of what they actually did with the headphones, but then her mom's aunt moves in with them, and the thing is, she doesn't even remember her aunt living with them. She knows she was there, but she can't even remember her face. This was going on at the same time as the GATE program. She's possibly changing schools. She applies to a charter school, but they didn't do the GATE program there. She doesn't get in because they did a raffle. After she finds out she doesn't get in, a strange man calls the house and says that she was accepted. Thing is, after that, they never found out who that man was. There was no record of him being part of the school, but I mean, she was in, and she thinks that he was just trying to get her away from this program. She said, ever since the program, my imagination has improved significantly, but I never felt like a kid again. And then you can see what she experienced. She also says that she has never broken a bone. Apparently there's a girl on TikTok who has her workbooks from this program. So I'm about to go even further into this rabbit hole. But yeah, I need to know more from more people who are in this program because why don't I remember anything?
Have you ever heard of the GATE program? Now, GATE stands for Gifted and Talented Education. It was the government's gifted program for kids growing up through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and I think early 2000s. Now, what if I told you that it wasn't just a gifted education program, but a government experiment to track and control children based upon unusual abilities? That sounds crazy. But listen, the theory goes as follows. The government, through the Department of Education, intelligence agencies like the CIA, supposedly used the GATE program as a cover to study children who displayed heightened pattern recognition, abstract thinking, unexplained intuitive abilities. Some people believe that the project is linked to MK Ultra. Can I say MK Ultra on TikTok? Probably not. Supposedly, this was used to train these children for covert roles in intelligence, remote viewing, and time travel experiments. Time travel? The GATE program had weird curriculums. Former GATE students report being exposed to odd advanced topics like discussions about alternate realities, alternate dimensions, paradoxes, unconventional problem solving. Many of the kids in these programs developed weird fascinations with topics such as conspiracy theories, glitches in reality, as if they were programmed to see the anomalies in the system, the weird things that happen on a day-to-day basis. Some of them claim that they underwent unusual testing that included sound frequency experiments, exposure to rapid images, and even EEG brainwave scans. And there are reports of ex-GATE students experiencing dreams, deja vu, or missing time when trying to recall specific events from their GATE years, suggesting some sort of memory suppression. How did they do this? The wildest theory of all, though, is there's a theory that claims the GATE children were actually reincarnated souls from past advanced civilization. And one day the government figured out how to test for these things. The idea that these children had access to hidden knowledge, advanced technology that the government either wanted to suppress or they wanted to take it themselves. Okay, that was absolutely crazy. But whether it was an advanced education program or something more nefarious, a lot of these kids in these programs swear that something never felt quite right about it. Now, if you were in the GATE program, think back. Do you remember these weird tests? Lessons that felt too advanced? Can you not remember the things that happened in the GATE program? Maybe it was just a gifted program for kids that were just a little too smart for their classroom. But if something about it never sat right with you, you're not alone. Drop an experience in the comment section. Let's compare notes. Damn it, man.
Because of the special audio techniques used, it's important that certain sounds reach your right ear and others your left ear. To be sure of this, you should be hearing my voice in your right ear at this moment.
See, Father, work.
And this completes the exercise.